All right, how's everybody doing today? Our topic of discussion for the day is turning weaknesses into strengths. Now, this is related to it's related to interviewing questions, but it's related to life in general, how you present yourself and how we sometimes need to change the lens through which the world views us. So, let's start there. Do you ever feel that you don't possess the necessary skills or experience? Or maybe you feel like you have a weak or spotty background? Now, as Babe Ruth would say, don't let the fear of striking out hold you back. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and you may face many defeats in your life, but you should never let yourself be defeated. I'm going to present you with, I think it's 13 situations or questions, scenarios. So I want you to start thinking about each. And we'll have these questions in the resource section, so you don't have to write them all down now, but just start thinking about it, and that might be helpful. Now, when I present them to you, I want you to start thinking about what would the hiring manager be thinking, and I want you to start formulating a strategy for answering how to address each of these weaknesses. And then I'll give you answers later on. But okay, number one, you don't think you have enough experience to get the job. Happens quite often. 2, you have gaps in your employment history. You weren't at your last position for very long. You're currently unemployed. You've moved jobs frequently. This job would be a promotion for you. You're overqualified for the position. You're changing functions completely. You don't have the experience with the required software. You're moving to a larger or smaller organization. You're planning to move, or you're a long-distance candidate. You're looking to change industries, and typical, you're too old, you're too young. Okay, so you get the idea. These are the kinds of questions that you may feel, I'm not really a perfect fit for this. What do I do? How do I compensate? Anyway, now that you've heard the questions, had a few minutes to think about them, let's go through each and address what the hiring manager is thinking and how you should address it. First one was, you don't have much work experience. Now, what the hiring manager is thinking of, if I can get somebody with experience for the same price, why would I hire somebody without experience? Then we're going to have to train them and teach them about this function. So how do you address this? Well, if you're a recent graduate, remind the hiring manager that you're fresh out of school and you just received fantastic training. For example, you might say that, I've been so fortunate to receive an excellent education at Harvard University. Also, you want to show that you're somebody who wants to learn inside the organization by saying something like, most people would characterize me as a quick learner. I'm especially interested in joining an organization where I can quickly onboard and make a positive impact with the team around me. I'm a great team player and I'm passionate about what I do. You should also work in some achievement high impact words such as accomplished, awarded, completed, earned, exceeded, outperformed, promoted, recipient, or won. And once again, I'll have these words for you in another place. But just keep that in mind. You don't have to write everything down now, but I'll have this in the resource section and we'll have those words for you. Okay, the next one is, you have gaps in your employment history. Well, what's the hiring manager thinking? Well, you've been out of the market for some time and you're not mentally or emotionally prepared to join their high-performance organization. So how do you address this? Well, first the obvious. You might do this by saying, no, you may have noticed that between blank and blank, my resume doesn't show any professional engagement. And provide some context about your employment gap. Don't give away anything inappropriate. For example, never say anything like, well, my family was falling apart because my partner was cheating on me. Instead, you can say something like, I took a personal leave of absence to help my family make an important transition. Remember, it's all about how you frame the information. Then assure the reader that you've been working on your skills. Describe classes, volunteerism, relevant projects that you may have worked on, and let them know that you're ready to take the next step in life. Okay, goes along with that one is you weren't at your position very long. What the hiring manager is thinking is this person a job hopper? Why would they commit to working at a job that they didn't like? Was there something wrong with their performance? Should this be a red flag? Now you can address this by, well, first of all, don't say anything negative about your previous employer. Instead, appeal to the hiring manager's sense of understanding, and sometimes the fit between employer and employee just isn't there. If you had to take the job because of financial hardship or for another reason, tell them that you were in a tough place in life financially, and now you're committed to finding the right long-term fit. Here you want to work in some high-impact words like loyal, ethical, exceeded, outperformed, or promoted. Okay, you're currently unemployed. They're thinking, why hasn't anyone hired you yet? Now you can address this by first personally appealing to the hiring manager. As you know, finding the right match between employer and employee often takes time. And let them know that you're working hard to find the right fit, because you want to be able to make long-term commitment to an organization. Then assure the reader that you've been working on your skills. Describe classes, volunteerism, and any relevant projects that you've worked on. Let them know that you're ready to take the next step in life, and you'd rather take extra time to find the right position than just jump into a short-term job that maybe it's not the best fit. You move jobs frequently. What the hiring manager is thinking is, if the candidate is constantly changing jobs, how can I expect them to come to this organization and stay? Now you can address this by, or any of your short stays, start with from the beginning, like an internship or a temp job. If any of them falls into that category, let them know that it was meant to be a short stay. If it doesn't say so on your resume, you tell them during the interview. But make sure next to your job title you have internship or something like that. Now, if you really left positions frequently over the past few years, first assure the hiring manager that you're looking for some place that you can stay for a longer term, and let them know that you learned a lot about organizations and different job functions, and you know much more about the kind of environment where you can succeed. Once again, try to work in words like loyal, ethical, exceeded, outperformed, or promoted. Next question. This job would be a promotion for you. What the hiring manager is thinking is, why didn't this person get promoted into a higher role in the previous organization? In addition, are they only in this for themselves? Will they change organizations again if they have a chance to move up the ladder? Now, you can address this by first, once again, speaking positively about your previous organization, never bash them or your previous boss, but then mention that you were transitioning and you want to describe the situation. Highlight that you want a chance to take on more responsibility, and let the hiring manager know that you're prepared to take on new challenges before the space for you in the next rung of the organization. Also make sure to speak in terms of we, to assure the hiring manager that you're not a selfish person. Speak well of your team and include phrases like shared success and everyone succeeds. Here you want to demonstrate that you can handle more responsibility by using some managed impact words like is shared or co-managed, coached, led, managed, monitored, orchestrated, organized, oversaw, president of, produced, recruited, or supervised. Okay, next question. You're overqualified for the position. What the hiring manager is thinking is, this person's just looking for a short-term fix. As soon as a better opportunity comes along, they are just going to jump ship. Now you can address this by first saying that, well, first make sure you don't come off as being arrogant. Then you can say something like, well, from my resume, you may have noticed that I've had quite a lot of experience in this area. Then assure the hiring manager that you're not looking for a short-term job fix, and that you realize that great careers are made by having a proper fit within the organization, not by being selfish about your level in the organization. Then describe how you see the position fitting into your longer-term career goals. Once again, try to work in some achievement words like accomplished, awarded, completed, earned, exceeded, outperformed, promoted, recipient of, or won. Okay, next is you change jobs frequently and you're changing functions completely. What the hiring manager's thinking is, this person may want to change jobs, but they have no experience in this function. If I bring them in for an interview, am I going to look like a fool, especially if they don't succeed in the role? Now you can address this by showing that you're serious about the transition to the new function. You could highlight maybe some courses and projects that show your commitment to the new skill set. Assure the hiring manager that the organization will be making a good decision by investing in you. Try using words like authored, built, created, defined, engineered, established, founded, implemented, innovated, introduced, launched, pioneered, or programmed. Okay, next question. You don't have any experience with the required software. What the hiring manager's thinking is, we're going to have to train this person on the software, and that's going to slow everybody down. Now you can address this by trying to address these concerns in your cover letter by mentioning that you're taking tutorials or classes on the software package and then talking about that. Also assure the hiring manager that you're committed to finding a great long-term fit, and if they invest in you, it's going to be well worth their time. Try mentioning you're a quick learner and that you've taken tutorials and software even though you're not an active user. We don't want to be deceptive here. We just want to show that we're trying and we're working on learning. Okay, you're moving to a smaller or larger organization. What the hiring manager's thinking is, this person has been working in a situation where the scope of work will be very different than this organization. So if you're coming from a smaller organization to a larger one, the scope of responsibilities is likely to be much smaller and they might be bored. If you're moving from a larger organization to a smaller one, they may not be able to handle the lack of structure in the smaller organization. Now you can address this by, if you're moving from the smaller to the larger one, write in your cover letter that you're interested in joining an organization with more resources, structure, and reach. If you're moving from a larger organization to a smaller one, write in your cover letter that you're looking to work somewhere in which it's easier to bring ideas to the team and get exposure from a broader set of job functions. Remind them of your achievements using words such as advised, analyzed, consulted, evaluated, examined, identified, published, quantified, ranked, recommended, researched, or suggested. Okay, you're planning to move or you're a long-distance candidate. What the hiring manager is thinking is, it's easy to dream about taking a job in some faraway place, or that you're moving to the area for a personal reason, like a relationship or a friend. And it's easy to call quits and then move back home if things don't work out. Now you can address this by reassuring the hiring team that you're serious about making the move to their specific place. The message that you'll move anywhere is usually not as powerful as saying that you're doing everything to move somewhere in particular, where their organization is located. And you can demonstrate this by talking about the time you spent researching housing or any other moving concerns. Tell them you know the area, you've already been looking into it. Here you want to stress that you're dedicated. Okay, you're looking to change industries. What the hiring manager is thinking is, you might want to move industries, but why does that matter to me? I need to make sure I can get somebody qualified to fill this position. Now you can address this by showing the recruiting team that you're serious about changing industries, by letting them know that you're learning the relevant software, reading about the industry, and this move is an important part of your career plan. Remember, wherever possible when addressing weaknesses to work, impact words like teamwork, passion, dedication, hardworking, organized, customer-focused, humble, multitasker, generous, charitable, ethical, conducted, researched, recommended, redesigned, expanded, or maximized. Once again, I have a list of all these words in the resource section. Okay, next, You're too old or you're too young. What's the hiring manager thinking? You're too old or you're too young. Pretty straightforward. Now you can address this by showing the recruiting team that you have the experience and skills necessary to do the job. That the personal part's not important, it's are you the right candidate? Mention that you're serious about the position and learning the relevant software, reading about the industry, and that this move is an important part of your career plan. Make sure for this question and for all questions when you're discussing weaknesses that you can work in certain words like teamwork, passion, dedication, hardworking, organized, customer-focused, humble, multitasker, generous, charitable, chaired, led, managed, mentored, orchestrated, organized, oversaw, president of, etc., etc. And once again, I'll give you a list of those words in another place. Now, a couple more additional weakness-strength questions and potential responses. Here's 4 more questions and some good strategies for answering them. So, what's a problem you faced in your last role, and how did you solve it? First, the problem you select to use as an example should be similar to the problem you could potentially face at your new job. One way to identify these possible challenges is to think about some common challenges for a firm of their size or in a particular industry. Then identify a challenge you faced in your past role, present in the context of the problem, when and why it needed to be solved, and how you solved it. Quantify the positive result if at all possible. For example, it resulted in a 30% uptick in revenue relative to the previous quarter. And this action attracted 40 more additional clients. Next question. What did you like best and least about your previous job? Now, ideally, when you're citing things that you like about your previous job, you want to find characteristics of your last job that are similar or related to your big 6 skills that are required for the job that you're interviewing. When answering about what you liked least, keep your response short. Don't be negative. For example, what I liked about my last job was the fact that there was good on-the-job training. I was able to really develop such and such a skill, which I know will help me succeed here if I'm fortunate enough to be able to join your team. What are the qualities and skills of the people who've been most successful in your department? Okay, that's it. Next. Under what circumstances do you think working on a team is preferable to working alone? Here, the interviewer is likely looking to learn more about how you handle opposing viewpoints. So it's a good idea to highlight your ability to receive ideas from others, listen carefully, lead a group to the ideas with the strongest based on clear reasoning. Now, you may want to use words like coordinated, team-oriented, orchestrated, oversaw, supervised, monitored, things of those nature. Okay, what do you do when you find yourself stressed out at work? Definitely need an answer to this. Workplace stress is an issue for everyone, and don't pretend to be immune to it. But try to give some powerful examples of how you've been calm under pressure, and also describe how you avoid stress in the first place through planning and time management. For example, you may say something like, stress affects everyone. It's inevitable that people are going to have stressful days. I try to minimize stress by planning and managing my time carefully. If something unexpected happens, I try to control my response to the situation. I can't always control what happens to me, but I can control how I respond to it. Okay, we're going to change gears a little now. And I'm going to give you some behavioral questions to deal with. And once again, they're going to deal with pressure, negative circumstances, and along with, of course, strategies for answering them. How do you deal with tight deadlines? Now, a question like this looks at several of your qualities, organization, initiative, and ability to cope under pressure. Any real-life examples are great to help you illustrate your answer. Remember, talk to the interviewer through the entire story, why the deadline was so tight, how it was formed, how you dealt with it, how you put the plan into action, and what was the outcome. You can talk in general about how to stay organized and avoid having tight deadlines. Do you have any techniques or tips for managing your workload? The interviewer might be happy to learn some from you. Be sure to include words like consistent, measured, calm, and organized. How do you respond to criticism? The safe answer to a question like this is to say you try to take everything on board and make changes where required. If you have any examples, they'll add weight to your answer. It's even better if you can give an answer of how criticism has helped you improve in a measurable way. Now you can talk about how you give criticism to people. One of the things, what they're really looking at here is your ability to communicate. So anything that's relevant, as long as it's positive, is worth mentioning. Try utilizing words like receptive, responsive, flexible. How do you deal with pressure? Pressure is a fact of life in any job, and so your ability to cope with it is vital. Your answer should focus on how you organize yourself, stay on top of things, and avoid getting overwhelmed. It's actually not great to say that pressure doesn't affect you. People who throw themselves into high pressure situations are more likely to burn out in the long run. So, if you have practical examples of your coping with pressure, be sure to share them. And make sure to include words like calm and organized. Now, how do you stay organized on long-term projects? Once again, if you have any specific techniques, here's your chance to talk about them. For example, you may use tools like Google Calendar or Trello to stay on top of your commitments. Interviewers also want to hear about your real-world examples. If you've delivered a major project at work, focus your answer on this. You can also talk about examples from your education, your work life, your personal life. Ultimately, the interviewer wants to know how you approach long-term challenges and ensure that nothing gets missed. Try to work in words like disciplined, controlled, supervised, oversaw, orchestrated, monitored, led, coached, words of those nature. Next, how do you keep your skill set up to date? Now, even if you're experienced, there's still a chance that your skills are outdated. You may not be aware of the new process, new software, or current industry trend. There's always going to be something you're not going to know. So traditional ways to keep skills up to date are to join professional associations, subscribe to specialist journals. This keeps you in touch with your industry colleagues. Now, of course, nowadays, most people use the internet and social media to stay in touch with, on top of everything. So talk about the websites or Twitter accounts that you get your news from. But make sure you have something, and preferably something specific to your industry. Like, you can say use Facebook, but tell them what kind of Facebook groups you're part of. So a little more detail is better there. Next question. What would you do if you thought your manager was incompetent? That's a dangerous one. Be careful. Remember, we never want to speak badly about our former managers. So don't be tempted to spill the beans about your old boss. This isn't your chance to lay it all out. When people complain about their manager, it usually means there's been a communication breakdown. So focus on that and how you would try to improve communication and learn more about the pressure they're under. Consider what the interviewer wants to learn. They want to know about your problem solving, your conflict resolution, communication, teamwork skills. So focus on these positive skills in your answer. Next, tell me about a mistake you made and how you fixed it. For any tell me about question, you want to talk first about the situation you were in, giving details of the environment and the mistake that you made. Talk about the task you were faced with after the mistake. What needed to happen next? The next part of your answer, talk about how you figured out your solution. Demonstrate your problem-solving skills. And finally, talk about the outcome. Your story should have a happy ending, with lessons learned and no real damage done. The interviewer doesn't care about the mistake itself, as long as it wasn't too terrible. What they want to know is how you analyze problems and arrive at solutions. Remember SWOT. Try to work in words like re-engineered, strengthened, streamlined, redesigned, reorganized, improved, expanded, or enhanced. Anyway, that's it for this section. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Once again, always go to the resource section. I'll probably put this article will be in there. Certainly all the platinum words will be in there, but I'll have the questions in there as well. So you'll have plenty of stuff to review, so you don't have to remember all this stuff. So next time we're going to talk about interview questions. So these kind of sections go hand in hand, but this is the more complicated stuff that requires more thought. So anyway, remember, tough times never last, but tough people do. This is Joe Pastore with Platinum Method Coaching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, make it a great day.